Okay, on to the next Skip the Line reaction, man. This one is Aesop Rock, Zero Dark 30. Yet another Aesop Rock one. This is actually a video, so I'm not sure if there's... I put CCs on to see if there's lyrics over there. If we struggle, we'll just pull up the lyrics from somewhere else. But yeah, this one is a Skip the Line reaction from Campbell Cravens. I know it's a little bit late, so I apologize about that. You're going to be in like a frame of mind to do like an hour-long reaction to this guy. Because it's hectic. So as you guys know, we do this all the time. We will do a one run through, completely uninterrupted, so I can just listen to the track, and then afterwards we will go back into it and we'll do the breakdown. We really only do this with like Aesop Rock and other guys like Sadistic and things like that, because they're just ridiculous. Let's rock and roll, man. Let's see what we got.
They did not know how long they had been there. They did not know how long they had been there. They did not know how long they had been there. They did not know how long they had been there. They did not know. Child of oat lunch jumped over plunging necklines up beside tongue-tied hungry enzymes devolved in a mothman munching textiles punisher out past go time back 10 fried worms chubbier brown grass both sides canned food man-made tools Lana cane band-aids mandrake root bindle on a broomstick pancake shoes and a handshake proof campaign can't lose can't gain smoke out moles like a force of nature pray fortune return to his fate swiftly maybe in the form of a nest egg maybe in the form of a Tesla death ray or a solid gold scene with something better to celebrate than powder on a face like a flat foot on jelly day. My moral compass, all that shit spinning in the shadows of a moral magnet. Are we supporting the artist or enabling the addict? I mean, I guess it matters to me. I wish it mattered to you. How 1,000 virtues kick the same bucket like Chinatown turtles. Roving packs of elusive young become choke lord riders over boosted drums in the terrifying face of a future tongue. Down from a huntable surplus to one. 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 Check his own breakneck pulse over colors in a drain. Let him milk sugar skulls in a rain. Glamorized melting. Got it by a levy, made a bad towel silting. Quarter up ahead but a kill screen. No quarter cut, no build team. Only a particularly menacing. Angle perpendicular to everything. Boys room, cherry bomb, boy goon. Very much running with the devil in the mellotron. Hello, here's where a tale of caution. Pounds caught the nails, the bootlegs, the hawkwind. Sawtooth, never mind straw to go. Spin hearts on sleeves and a heads on poles. Arm in the maw. Fish out piff like a business card from a jar at the mall. Hey, like androids dreaming a carbon applause. Get stuffed with cartoon cigars. Cold pack, netty plot home to roost around folk back then. What they most lampoon. Shook to the fever brown with broke ankles. Daisy, decoy pound, no thank you, baby. Failed all basic training, but I spent a couple groundhog days with a change. Silhouette the guard last cigarette. Anything less would be goddamn ridiculous. Packs of elusive young become choke lord riders over boosted drums in the terrifying face of a future tongue. Down from a huntable surplus to one. 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 Down from a huntable surplus to one.
Those graphics behind him are sick. Oh my god. Okay. The way this guy writes is absolutely insane. I love what was going on in the background over there with the graffiti and that, like showing like a world that was absolutely beautiful and with all of its colors and the animals and the children and all of that. And then it's like dark and skeleton. So that's what the whole song, for me personally, just off the first listen, kind of feels like it's referring to war. To war of some sort, or fighting a war, and something like that, right? Like the end of days, essentially. Zero Dark 30, obviously that meaning the middle of the night. but it's a military term, 0 dark 30, but it basically means the middle of the night, somewhere in between night and dawn, essentially. Let's go straight back into the beginning, and let's try and see if we can break this down as best as we can. This guy's writing just breaks my brain. Anyway, let's go.
They did not know how long they had been there. They did not know how long they had been there. They did not know how long they had been there. They did not know how long they had been there. They did not know how long they had been there.
They did not know how long they've been there, referring to war. So that's kind of like a repetition, as if it was like said on the radio waves again and again and again. Like they did not know how long it would be. Like they have been there in that region or whatever. Let's go.
Unsigned hype, frontline,
So here, unsigned hype, frontline, aeronauts flurry, right? So I kind of feel like this over here, he's talking about the conscripts. So you've been conscripted into war. They haven't signed up yet, but unsigned hype, as if it's like I'm going out there to be brave. Frontline aeronauts flurry, right? So it's a whole flurry of people coming to sign up for the military to fight this battle. So 0 dark 30 kind of like refers to dark days over there, and then dark days, and obviously the military term 0 dark 30 in the middle of the night. It's an operation of the middle of the night, right? But I kind of, in that sort of sense, I kind of feel like he's referring to dark times right now in terms of war times. 0 friends, Minotaur, Fugly, Stepchild, right? So it's almost like he's almost like describing the people in the line, in the conscript line. 0 friends, no friends, you'll make them in war and lose them in war. Minotaur, obviously referring to like a mythical Greek monster, right? So it's a whole variety of different types of people. Fugly, Stepchild that goes to the military or whatever else. It's almost like they're just looking down the line and trying to describe like what they see and who they look like.
Fugly, Stepchild, evoke lunch, jumped over plunging neck.
Evoke lunch jumped over plunging necklines. Evoke lunch jumped over plunging necklines. You see, this is like, evoke means to like recall, right? So you evoke something, you recall something. So when you revoke lunch, right, it almost means like you regurgitate, right? So it's kind of like you're throwing up. So you're throwing up, so evoke lunch, so you recall your lunch, the lunch that you've had, you recall because it might be because of the nervousness, it might be because of the fear, right, of going to war. So you evoke, you recall your lunch that jumps over the plunging neckline. So when you actually swallow something, that's a plunging sort of action, essentially. So you eat something and it plunges down to your stomach and it goes beyond your neckline. Could mean something else, but that's what I think. So he's kind of like the lunch is like coming up to his like esophagus again, and like they're going to throw up. So evoke lunch, recalling lunch, jumped over the plunging neckline, which is the plunging neckline where the food goes down. That's what I think. That's what it sounds like.
Dark 30, 0 friends, Minotaur, Fugly, Stepchild, evoke lunch, jumped over plunging necklines, up beside tongue-tied hung.
See, up besides tongue. This is why that other line makes more sense now. So it's up beside tongue-tied, hungry enzymes. When your tongue is tied, it's because, again, you're nervous, you can't speak, right? Because, okay, this is all referring to war times, right? So you're nervous, you feel like vomiting, evoke lunch, coming up beyond sort of your neckline, besides the tongue-tied, hungry enzymes. Obviously, there's enzymes in your mouth, right? That you salivate from. That's what I'm going with. I think that's what it's just all from the nervousness, and it's just they feel like throwing up.
Enzyme devolved in a Mothman munching textiles.
Devolved into Mothman munching textiles. It's fucking insane. Because moth actually, the moth eats textiles as well. So it's devolved into Mothmen munching textiles, where I kind of feel so these beautiful people have been devolved into, right, these sort of like robotic men, as if they're just insects, like they're insignificant to a certain degree, right? So they would like lay down mothballs to kill moths and lay down mines to kill these people because they're literally just a number. No one really cares about an individual moth. If it dies, it dies. No one cares. So it's devolved into Mothmen, right? So these Mothmen that are drawn to one particular action, right? Munching textiles. So I'm almost kind of think that he's referring to military uniform over there, right? Devolved into Mothmen munching textiles. That I think munching textiles in the sense that, killing one another, right? Who's been in the military uniform. I'm not entirely sure if it's that or it's got something else to do with the nervousness, or like a nervous tick, maybe they're sucking on textile on their like textiles or something. I'm not sure, on their clothes or something. Not sure.
Jumped over plunging necklines up the side, tongue-tied, hungry enzymes devolved in a Mothman munching textiles. Punisher out past go time back to
Punisher out. You see, that's where that line
enzymes devolved in a Mothman munching textiles. Punisher.
You see, Punisher. So you see, I like the fact that they spoke about the textiles and then Punisher, because Punisher actually wore that body armor that had the skull on it, right? So out past go time. So it's kind of been like, this is now. It's we've passed go time, right? We in a rush over here. It's actually a frenzy. We're trying to get more men for this.
Out past go time, back 10 fried worms chubby, brown grass both sides, canned food.
Brown grass both sides. So, back 10 fried worms chubbier. Back 10 fried worms chubbier.
Worms chubbier. Brown grass both sides.
Brown grass both sides. So obviously that just looks like I like the fact that he's playing into like the philosophical element of that and actually the war aspect of it, right? The war aspect of everything is just grey and brown and everything's destroyed. There's no beauty anymore. So it's that's actually the realism of, that's the reality of war. But then also like talking about brown grass on both sides, meaning there's no greener grass on either side, right? There's no positive side over here, right? You don't like just skip the fence and go into the next side and feel like the grass is going to be greener. This is all just a travesty, right?
Canned food, man-made tools, Lanacan band-aids, mandrake root, bindle on a broomstick, pancake shoes.
You see this over here where he says, canned food, man-made tools.
Go time, back 10 fried worms chubby, brown grass both sides, canned food, man-made tools, Lanacan band-aids, mandrake root, bindle on a broomstick.
You see, again, this could be referring to war, or it could be referring to like a dire situation, like a end of world type thing, like Armageddon, like a Walking Dead type vibe, where the world has all been destroyed and you're pretty much surviving on your own skill and ability to keep yourself alive is what matters over here. So when he says bindle on a broomstick is I haven't heard that word in God knows how long, but bindle is basically the little sack at the end of a stick. You see them in cartoons back in the day. There was like cartoons that would hold, like they pack their shit up in a bag, and that was basically all they owned. And this is basically what he's referring to over there. It's like everything they own is inside this bindle, and it's on a broomstick or it's on a branch or something like that gets thrown over your shoulders, right? There's only canned food, there's only man-made tools and things like that. So it could be referring to like Armageddon, where it's kind of like the world has already all been destroyed and people are still in the throes of fighting and stuff like that. Or to the actual war itself. I think it could apply to probably both, right? Pancake shoes is obviously because they've worn those shoes out, so they've become pancakes, right? The soles of the shoes have been completely worn out because of the fact that there's no real mobility from a mechanical sense. The mobility is all from your legs. You just walk and walk and walk and walk and walk. So these are dire times. And again, look at the representation behind him on the actual wall over there. Right, everything that was beautiful and full of color, right? The animals, the children, everything is like slowly turning to skeletons, right? And even the fluidity of the paints kind of resembles blood and chaos and things like that. So I think it's very cool the way he's actually represented that.
Man-made tools, Lanacan band-aids, mandrake root, bindle on a broomstick, Pancake shoes and a handshake proof campaign. Can't lose, can't gain. Smoke out. Broomstick, pancake shoes and a handshake proof.
And a handshake proof campaign can't lose. Okay, so basically this is actually referring to like you're kind of on your own here, right? So you can't lose,
Campaign, can't lose, can't gain.
but you also can't gain. This is like a zero-sum game over here. You can't lose, you can't win. Everyone's already lost over here, right? So going out there really is no benefit. So let's say even if you win the battle, you've still lost the war, right? Because these are like dire times essentially, right? So even if you win, what's winning in those kind of scenarios? It's like, okay, well, the world is pretty much completely decimated. Yay, you've won. And every day that you're alive might be a victory, but a victory towards what? Nothing that you cherish or hold dear exists anymore. So it's a campaign that you maybe can't lose, but you also can't win. So okay, I like that.
Smoke out balls like a force of nature. Break.
See, that's where he's referring back to the war.
Handshake proof campaign. Can't lose, can't gain. Smoke out balls.
And I like the fact that he's referring to like there's no winners and losers in war. Everyone just loses in war. This ridiculous notion that, you know, oh, this one's going to win the war and that one's going to win the war. It's so pathetic. It's so stupid. Nobody wins in a war. Everybody loses in war, right? I don't think there's a war like the idea that you win war specifically in today's day and age is just absolutely pathetic. Like nobody wins wars, you know, people just die. If you are the United States, you make a ton of money, and then the objective of the war means absolutely nothing. At the end of the day, wars are to be maintained and to make money, and then at the end of all of it, just fly home and pull out, and then give the public an excuse as to why nothing really was achieved and billions of dollars of taxpayers' money went into a nonsensical war. But anyway, smoke out moles like a force of nature. That's awesome. Moles in terms of like smoke out moles, like moles in the ground, essentially like a mole hole. And then also with regards to a mole, which is like the force of nature, where a mole will be pushed out by the body, right? And then you smoke out moles. Usually that's the process of removing a mole is through dry ice, which kind of also like has smoke essentially. So like they freeze out the mole and then it falls off. So smoke out mole. But I think this in terms of like war talk, we're talking about smoking out mole holes underneath the ground, right?
Like a force of nature, pray fortune return to his favor swiftly.
So pray fortune return to his favor. Okay.
Maybe in the form of a nest egg, maybe in the form of a Tesla death ray, or a solid gold scene with something better.
Oh, I like that. So he prays that there's fortune that'll come his way, maybe in the form of a nest egg, in terms of like, you hope that in these dire situations he actually had a nest egg, that he's actually managed to save something for a rainy day, he's actually able to fall back onto something, right? Because the majority of people don't have nest eggs. The majority of people are living day to day. Essentially, and when hard times hit, and they go they have to endure real struggles and not being able to put food on their table because they don't have that nest egg. So he prays that his fortunes, maybe in the form of a nest egg, or maybe in the form of something a little bit more elaborate because it's wartime, right? Like a Tesla death ray. And that can just eviscerate everything, as opposed to fighting this like bullet by bullet. You know, he wished his fortunes would change in terms of having a weapon that's far more powerful than the conventional weapons, so that we can end this sooner, right, and stop all the misery.
Form of a nest egg, maybe in the form of a Tesla death ray, or a solid gold scene with something better to celebrate than powder on a face like a flat foot on jelly.
I like that, the powder on the face like a flat, but I think he's also referring to gunpowder, but I also think he's referring to that black paint, right, on a face like a flat foot on jelly day. That's fire. I mean, the flat foot on jelly day. The powder on a face, so I get that, but like a flat foot on jelly day. I don't know if that's maybe like an American slang. We call jelly jam. Let's see.
Right, a solid gold scene with something better to celebrate than powder on a face like a flat foot on jelly day. My moral compass or that shit spinning in the shadows of a moral magnet.
I like that line.
Jelly day. My moral.
So moral compass all batshit, obviously, because there is no real moral compass in war. So you're trying to have a moral compass, right? But they're telling you to go out and kill people, right? Already your moral compass is like it's swaying all over, because even if you're doing it for like a sort of good cause, it's not in human nature to kill other people. So your moral compass is already like just going absolutely crazy. But this over here is spinning in the shadows of immoral magnets, which I think is fucking awesome the way he's at, because obviously, so you've got the compass, and the compass works on like magnetic north. It works on the Earth's like magnetic pull, right, and magnetic force. But so his moral compass is spinning in the shadows of immoral magnets, essentially. So everything around it, all the forces, it's a really nice way of referring to the forces around him, magnetic forces and forces in terms of military. Super clever. So a moral compass going all batshit, spinning in the shadows. So obviously in this dark time of immoral magnets. So everything is immoral over here. So your moral compass is spinning all over, and eventually it's going to spin to the direction of being immoral as well. That's fucking fire. I love the way that is for me one of the most insane lines I've ever heard, right? One of the most insane lines I've ever heard in a rap.
The powder on a face like a flat foot on jelly day. Moral compass, all that shit.
So, and I like the fact that he put the stutter in there, right? So like where it's almost like he's kind of nervous and stuttering and not really sure. So moral, like, you know, because he's scared and thing. So immoral compass spinning in the shadows of immoral magnets. I can't actually begin to tell you how sensational that scheme is. That line is brilliant.
Spinning in the shadows of a moral magnet. I'm supporting the artist or enabling the addict.
I love that. So you support
shit spinning in the shadows of a moral magnet.
So are we supporting the artist or enabling the addict? So that's actually a philosophical question. It's like, are we, by telling these people that you're killing, that you kind of make killing an art, you kind of make the idea of going out to kill a fellow man, regardless of which side he's on, right? Killing a human being is not within our natural, it shouldn't be within our natural order. It's not something that's why you have a consciousness, because when you do that, that's why you get PTSD and things like that, because it's not a natural thing for a human being to do, right? But we make artists out of men in war, where we say, oh no, what a great soldier, right? He killed this many people. So are we supporting artists, or are we enabling death addicts, people that become addicted to the idea of death, become addicted to the idea of taking someone else's life, right? And that's where he plays with the morality and the moral compass. And he says, is this the right thing to do? Should we be making war and death something to be proud of, right? Therefore making our soldiers artists? Or should we be making death as something that can be really detrimental to humanity and make them addicts in something that's very unnatural? So I really like, really, so far those are my two favorite lines in this whole thing. I mean, he's got incredible lines, all of them is brilliant, but those two are just standouts so far.
A moral compass, all that shit spinning in the shadows of a moral magnet. I'm supporting the artist or enabling the addict. I guess it matters to me. I wish it mattered to you.
I love that. I guess it matters to me, but I wish it mattered to you, because you're all there chanting for Uncle Sam. So I think this is something that only I care about. I wish you cared about it. Know what I mean? I wish we didn't lionize this. I wish we didn't make this to be something to be proud of, right? I like that. I wish more people cared about the fact that, you know, nobody wins in war, and we just kill for the sake of killing, and we make death artists out of men. I like that.
Supporting the artist or enabling the addict. I guess it matters to me. I wish it mattered to you. How 1,000 virtues kick the same bucket like Chinatown turtles.
Ooh, how 1,000 virtues kick the same bucket like China turtles. Fire, bro. Fire. Okay, so the Chinese put turtles in a bucket, so they're probably going to consume them, right? And then but I like the fact that he said, but it's amazing how 1,000 virtue, all the virtuous, right? All the virtuous people that are consistently talking about this virtue talk and virtue signaling and all of that, and that completely kicks the bucket like the Chinatown turtles. So all of a sudden, all your virtues go down the drain when it comes to war, right? Life doesn't matter no more. right? Life is so important, and life is precious and should be and fragile and should be preserved and all of that. And the moment it comes to war, it's like, nope, fuck, virtue's out the window, man. It's time to kill and make money. Let's go.
Turtles. Roving packs of elusive young become choke lord riders over boosted drums in the terrifying face of a future tongue.
See, he's definitely talking about war over here. This is kind of like the hook over here.
Juice kick the same bucket like Chinatown turtles. Roving packs.
So roving packs of elusive young, that's self-explanatory. So roving packs of elusive young, right? So these elusive young men that go around, they're out in each of these forces killing each other.
Elusive young become choke lord.
Become choke law writers of boosted drums. Choke law. I'm not entirely sure what choke law means. Choke law writers of boosted drums, right? So like sort of like drumming to the beat and kind of like marching in unison, that kind of thing. Right? I'm not entirely sure about that line. I'll think about it.
Riders over boosted drums in the terrifying face of the future.
I like that. I like that.
Elusive young become choke lord.
So choke law riders of a boosted drums, I kind of think is obviously just like sort of the humdrum drum of war, the marching to the drums of war, the boosted drums. Okay, so like, you know, when they say the drums of war are sounding off. So I think it's something to do with that.
Riders
but
over
then this
boosted
line
drums
over here, in the terrifying face of a future tongue. So I think what he's talking about over here is the very idea as to why people go to war, right? Because people go to war for very many different ideologies. And I kind of feel like he's saying, like, the reason why these kids are sent out there is because there's this fear instilled in them that says, okay, well, no, you're gonna go and die, because if you don't die, we'll all be speaking German. With the context, like, you know, if we're taking like World War II into context over here to sort of like paint a bit of a picture, right? Hypothetically, right? In the terrifying face of it. So you've got to plant an idea inside of these kids' mind. And then this particular one is like, if we don't win this war, we'll all be speaking German. Right? Is that what you want? Is that what you want? Right? So I kind of think that's what he's actually talking about. It's the very ideas, that the notions that get placed and implanted into these children's minds. In World War II, that was probably a good thing, that we went and fought that, so that the whole world wasn't going to be speaking German. But I kind of feel like a lot of these wars that are perpetuated and whatever else, all of this fear mongering goes into, and it might not just be in the terrifying face of a future tongue in terms of like a future language or speaking a different language because you've been conquered, essentially, but you go to war for some form of ideology or other, right? Whether your ideology is right or not, right? It's the way it's justified and sold to these youngsters that let them go fight for it. The fact that 99% of wars is fought for, like an individual man's interests as opposed to actually defending freedom. I don't think we've fought a war to defend freedom in God knows how damn long. Since 1944, I don't think we've fought a war to defend freedom. I think we've just fought wars of convenience and power and interests, and we've lost countless amounts of young life for the powerful elites who don't send their own children to war. They send other people's children to war.
Terrifying face of the future tongue. Down from a huntable surplus to one. Down from a huntable surplus.
I like that. Down from a huntable surplus to one. So he's talking about having like a huge platoon, it's like a huge force. So down from a huntable surplus to one. So it's just like, I'm not entirely sure if he's referring to the actual force itself. So down from a huntable surplus to one. So you're hunting down this platoon, right? And then they've got a surplus of men, and then they down to one. Or he's talking about himself, where it was like he once had an army behind him, but now during all these times, everything that he loved and all the people that stood by his side are now all dead, and he went from a huntable surplus, the people that hunted him, he's now down to one where it's just himself, right? So he's kind of fighting for himself, which I think that kind of like that line makes more sense when you take it back to the old line with the other line with the bindle on the back. So that already sort of gave you, it alluded to the fact that he was on his own, right? And didn't really have anybody to back him up, essentially. So I think it's far more the latter than the former.
Face of the future tone. Down from a huntable surplus to one. 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 Check his own breakneck pulse over colors in a drain.
I like that line.
Down from a huntable surplus to check his own.
So check his own breakneck pulse over colors in a drain. So I kind of feel it's like it's just his pulse rate over colors in the drain, kind of maybe alluding to the fact of like blood in a drain, right? It's trying to like wash off the wound.
Breakneck pulse over colors in a drain that emote sugar skulls in the rain.
That emotes sugar skulls in the rain. See, again, I think he's referring to blood over here, that emotes sugar skulls in the rain. So there's obviously sugar, there's sugar in your blood, and then skulls referring to death in the rain. So sugar skulls in the rain from the plasma. I'm not entirely sure what that line is, but I think it's all referencing blood. Flower eyes melting.
Neck pulse over colors in a drain that emote sugar skulls in the rain.
Flower eyes melting. Right, so whatever you saw as beautiful is now sort of dissolving and fading away. Gotta buy a levee made of bath tiles, tilting. See, again, I think he's just trying to like sort of paint. He's trying to paint the actual environment over here. So it's like in like a broken up bathroom, essentially. Levee made of bath tiles thing over a basin, checking his pulse while he's bleeding onto the basin, right? Referring to the color of the blood as well. Quarter up ahead of a kill screen. See, again, he's just referencing the war. So quarter up. I like the fact that he's almost like referring to like when he says quarter up, the actual, like when you cauterize a wound, I'm not entirely sure, but over here in the actual lyric itself, it says quarter up, they're headed for the kill screen. Quartered up. Oh, okay. Also, he's also referring to the crosshairs over here, the crosshairs in the actual scope. So he's actually got his position in the kill screen. He's calling the actual scope a kill screen, right? And then quartered up because the hairs of the hairs of the scope is quartered up, obviously, because there are crosshairs, and headed for the kill screen. That's fire, 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 fire. Okay, so he's sort of like trying to paint a picture of like a sniper scenario over here as well, right? Kind of in like a bathroom thing, and he's checking the pulse also with regards to the breathing as well. So it might not just be pulse to check his actual heart rate. I also think he needs to check his breathing because he's kind of like a sniper over here looking through a scope. I think that could be it. I'm not sure. With his lyrics, it can mean 1,000 different things, man. 1,000 different things. Anyway, carry on. Let's carry on.
No corner cut, no build team, only a particularly menacing angle perpendicular to everything. No corner cut, no build team, only a particularly
So no corner cut, so it's kind of like he can't make a mistake over here, right?
Tilting, quarter up ahead, but a kill screen. No corner cut, no build team, only a particularly menacing angle perpendicular.
Only a particularly menacing angle perpendicular to everything. So fucking ridiculous, like the way he actually refers to that. So if you think of if you say something is perpendicular, it's something that's it's an upright angle, essentially, like that. So you've got the landscape and then you've got something that's perpendicular like that. He could be referring to the crosshairs itself, or he could be referring to like a first person shooter type thing, right? So you are the soldier who's perpendicular to absolutely everything, which kind of also alludes to the fact that you are this lone soldier taking on the world, right? And you're the only one, you're the last man standing. That's kind of actually saying that you're the last man standing. An angle perpendicular to everything, so you're the last man standing, right? And you're facing everything ahead of you, right? So if you think perpendicular angles like that, okay? So that's perpendicular to everything. So there's a plane and then there's a perpendicular angle like that, which is kind of like 90 degrees. So you are the last man standing, perpendicular. So you're facing the weight of the world. You're facing everything that's ahead of you on your own. Fire, man. Why doesn't he just say that?
But a kill screen. No corner cut, no build team, only a particularly menacing angle perpendicular to everything. Boys room, cherry bomb, boy goon,
Boys room, cherry bomb. I'm kind of referring to cherry bomb, kind of like boys room, sort of like because of it being blown up or because of war, like cherry bombed. I'm not entirely sure if a cherry bomb is something that they use in the war. No, I don't think so. I think it's more like a candy type vibe, but I think it's red candy, so it's referring to like blood, so cherry bombed and like splatter on the walls.
You're particularly menacing, angle perpendicular to everything. Boys root cherry bomb, boy goon very much running with the
Boy goon very much running with the devil in the Mellotron. Fire. I like the fact that he refers to, again, I think he really is referring to a time of war, and it's like this person. What I'm getting over here now is that it's just this person who's lost everyone on his side, and now he's the man like fighting the good fight on his own. So again, Boy Goon very much running with the devil in the Mellotron. So obviously he's gone from any sort of enlightenment and any sort of peace to now in war because of what you see and the devastation. You build up a sense of hatred, right? And he's running with the devil. So the devil's now controlling him. There is no God in this situation. It's all just dire.
The devil in the Mellotron. Hello.
Mellotron. I think it's just kind of talking about it being in like robotic, right? It's trying to be like biologically robotic is kind of what he's trying to say.
Everything. Boys root cherry bomb, boy goon very much running with the devil in the Mellotron. Hello. Here's where a tale of caution pounds caught the nails to boot.
Here's a tale of caution pounds coffin nails to the bootlegs of Hawkwind. Pounds coffin nails. So I kind of think what he's trying to say over here is that this is probably one of the hardest ones we've reacted to of his, right? I think this is a lot more cryptic than anything else we've done of his. So pounds coffin nails to bootlegs of Hawkwind. So pounds, coffin nails. So I think what he's trying to refer to here is that this is like kind of like not a joke. This is he kind of alluded to the fact like it felt like a game, but this isn't a game, right? This is actually putting coffin, like this is putting, when you have that saying that said that was the final nail in the coffin. That's all he's doing is he's putting final nails in multiple different coffins, right? Of the Hawkwind. I'm not entirely sure if that's just, again, another military term.
Legs the Hawkwind, sawtooth, never mind straw.
Sawtooth, never mind straw to gold. Sawtooth. Sawtooth. Where have I heard sawtooth before? I've heard that particular phrase before. Sawtooth. So if you look about a sawtooth, obviously if you think of an actual saw, like cutting saw, it's a saw. So you get a sawtooth. So it's a sharp tooth in a blade. Essentially, that just cuts and severs everything. So that actually makes sense over there. Never mind straw to gold. But what I actually think over here, never mind straw to gold. Where did that come from? And the only reason I'm actually referring to this is because it's actually one of the books that my wife's been reading to my little one of Rumpelstiltskin, and Rumpelstiltskin made the children turn saw into gold, right? He would actually get the children to turn straw into gold. I'm not entirely sure if he's referring to that, essentially. Sawtooth, never mind straw to gold. Pounds of coffin nails to bootlegs and Hawkwind.
Sawtooth, never mind straw to gold. Spin hearts on sleeves.
Spin hearts on sleeves into heads and poles. Right, to spin hearts on sleeves. So obviously your heart's on your sleeve. When you refer to someone's heart being on their sleeve, it's referring to the fact that they easily manipulate it to a certain degree. And they love easy. I'm not entirely sure if that's what he meant, but I think this is more spin hearts on sleeves. I kind of think this is more gory. I think he's trying to play into like the goriness of war.
Heads on poles, arm in the maw. Fish out pith like a
fish out pith like a business card from a jar at the mall. That's fire. That's a fire line over there. So fish out pith like a business card. So like the fish come out of the water like a business card out of a jar in the mall. Right, you're actually fishing them out one by one. Fire, clever.
Business card from a jar at the mall. carbon applause.
A like androids dreaming of carbon applause. This over here is, I just think it's like, so A like androids, so these are good soldiers essentially who are dreaming for a carbon applause, right? So I think when he refers to carbon applause over here, I don't think it's actually the carbon itself. I think what he's trying to refer to, or might be carbon itself, is like that carbon copy applause, like that people don't actually realize that you're actually just pawns in this. Like if you're a droid, if you're an A-like, so you're a good soldier, right? That's the indoctrination that they would give you, which turns into a droid, and therefore you are dreaming, you're fighting this battle, right, viciously and ferociously, so that you can get that carbon copy applause that they give to every other droid, essentially, right? There's nothing unique about you. You don't get a unique sort of validation for your efforts, right? The validation you get is the validation that thousands of other dead got, right? The something that would be far more valuable to you would be your life, right? But they convince you that your life isn't that valuable. Your life needs to be given up for these ideologies, essentially. And then when they indoctrinate you in that sense, it's like, I can't, I'm going to go fight so that I can get, I can get that carbon applause, that carbon copy applause, that adulation that everybody else has gotten. But when all is said and done, I'm dead anyway. So what difference does it make?
Get stuffed with cartoon cigars, skull pack. Like androids dreaming a carbon applause. Get stuffed with cartoon.
See, so the A-like androids who are dreaming for carbon applause get stuffed like cartoon cigars, right? So stuffed with bullets. I kind of feel that's what we're trying to refer to. So like cartoon cigars, which was like just bullets, but bullets that, when they go through cartoons or things like that, it doesn't actually kill the cartoon character because it's just animation, right? But they get stuffed with cartoon cigars, essentially, where that's what you'd think they are, but this is real life. Like you'd get stuck with cartoon cigars, these cigars that you think aren't, but they are deadly at the end of the day, right? So he's basically just playing into how it's depicted in cartoons, as if it's all just fun and games, right? So he's kind of like intertwining the two worlds, being so ridiculously complex and intricate over here, right? Trying to just combine the fact of like this being a game and not a game at the same time. Because in cartoons you don't die, but in real life you do, essentially.
Cigars, skull pack, netty pot home, the roost around folk back then are what they most lampooned.
Around folk backed into what they most lampooned. So when you actually lampoon something, that's like, no, that's harpooning actually. That's not lampooning. Around folk backed into what they most lampooned. Okay, give that line a skip there. Shook to the fevered brown and broke ankles. Obviously, that's just again referring to just war and military and soldiers in the trenches.
Broke ankles, Daisy, decoy pound, no thank you, baby. Failed all basic training.
What did he say?
I'm a broke ankles, Daisy.
Daisy, declawed pound, no thank you. Again, it's another way of saying that he's just disarmed somebody.
Declawed pound, no thank you.
Oh, declawed pound. Okay, whoa. So it's kind of like Daisy, declawed pound. Declawed pound is actually sort of like, if you actually think of, so declawed pound is actually making things less dangerous, less vicious, essentially. And then Daisy, so it's kind of like saying that no thank you to peace over here. If you actually think to the Vietnam War, where the hippies went and put the daisies in the guns, right, to symbolize peace. Over here, it's like, no, there is no symbolism of peace. No thank you to peace. We just want war. We want death. Okay.
Baby,
Fade me, failed all basic training. Okay.
All basic training, but I spent a couple groundhog days with a
But I spent a couple groundhog days with the changeling. So he's basically saying it's just like, it doesn't matter. We needed the numbers over here. It doesn't matter that you failed basic training, right? You spent a couple of days in the groundhog in groundhog days with the changeling. Good enough, right? Because this is wartime. We'll take whoever we can get.
Silhouette the god's last cigarette.
Silhouette the god's last cigarette. Oh fuck, that's fire. I actually like. Okay, so they silhouette the God's lost cigarette. So it's actually the silhouette projected by the actual person itself. It's the God's lost cigarette, right? So it's kind of like it's an imprint of your life, right? That's a very clever way of doing it. It's the God's lost cigarette. God's lost cigarette it's basically the imprint, because you've eviscerated into smoke. I don't know.
Anything less would be a goddamn dick.
Anything less would be goddamn ridiculous. I think this over here, he's being sarcastic about that. Right? So anything less than death is goddamn ridiculous, man. We just need war, man. There can't be peace. Anything less than that, we here for a purpose. Let's go.
Of elusive young become choked.
I like this.
Low riders over boosted drums in the terrifying face of the future.
I think I've explained this as best I could possibly explain it. Right? This one over here, roving packs of elusive young. That's self-explanatory. Obviously, the young military men.
Elusive young become choked.
Folklore writers over boosted drums, which is marching to the drums of war.
Riders over boosted drums in the
terrifying face of a future tongue, in the terrifying face of the idea of being conquered and then having to speak the language of another nation or another ideology.
Face of the future tongue. Down from 100 surplus to 1. 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 Down from 100 surplus to 1.
See this over here. Can you see all the actual skeletons? Everything was colorful before, and now everything is black and skeleton, like it's only representing death. Great video. This over here. It's such a good video. Great representation. See, what were once people, now people that are frightened, and then animals and everything, right? See, and now they're playing that in reverse. They're playing in reverse. So from like death, they're playing it to people that are frightened and scared, and then going back to people smiling. So check how it plays backwards. Skeletons, scared people, beautiful happy faces, down to nothing. Fire. Listen. I'm not going to fuck around with that. I'm going to say that was the hardest one I've done so far. I tried my best, and I also didn't want to make this so ridiculously long. It's coming on 15 minutes as well, with me sitting and thinking. If I feel like I'm just not getting it right now, I just wanted to just sort of move on, so that we're not just sitting in this like awkward silence, me trying to figure out what that is. I think I tried to decipher it as best I could. This was the hardest one I've done, right? I definitely think it's about war, it's about Armageddon to a certain degree, it's about a soldier and last man standing, and the exploits of young men in war times, essentially. So I think that's basically what he's referring to. I'm going to be listening to this again, and I'm going to be chopping this entire thing up and deriving other things from here. I might make a second video to this. Not because anybody asks me to, is because this is going to sit and bug me. So I might actually come back to this after I've had a bit of a thought about it, and I've listened to the song 2 or 3 more times, and then I'm going to write some stuff down, and I'm going to come back to you with something a little bit more definitive and packaged better than what I did right now. I think I was very unpacked with all of this. I'll come back to this, right? To this song, I'll definitely come back to it. I feel like this song, I was a little bit more all over the show, and a lot of the times I was kind of in my head when I was trying to make sense of stuff. It was kind of like, things were contradicting each other. So I was like sitting there like, oh no, but not that. Oh no, but not that. So I need to sort of go back into this and see if I can sort of clarify my thoughts a little bit, and I'll get back to this one. Anyway, you guys let me know what you think down below. I'll catch you in the next one. Please stay safe, please stay healthy. Peace.